It stands as one of the most recognized symbols on Earth, 9 colossal white letters perched on a California hillside, a universal shorthand for dreams, fame, and starlight. For nearly a century, the Hollywood sign has been a beacon of aspiration, promising that anyone can make it big. But what if the story we've been told is a carefully curated fantasy? What if the original purpose of those letters on that hill was to send a message that was far more sinister? A message tied not to the magic of cinema, but to a deeply exclusionary social engineering project, the creation of a so-called white spot of America, a city marketed on the disturbing promise of racial purity. This story isn't about the movies, it's about the very ground beneath the sign and the chilling ideology it was built to champion. The year is 1923. Los Angeles is a city in the grip of a massive boom, and real estate developers are frantically selling a new kind of suburban dream. A group of powerful investors, led by the influential Los Angeles Times publisher Harry Chandler, launches an ambitious and upscale housing development called Hollywoodland. To broadcast its existence to the sprawling city below, they erected a gargantuan advertisement on the slopes of Mount Lee. The 13 letters, each towering 50 feet high and studded with 4,000 individual light bulbs, were an electric spectacle. At night, they would flash in sequence: Holly, then wood, then land, a pulsating beacon for their new venture. It was only ever intended as a temporary billboard, designed to be torn down after just a year and a half. The development itself was marketed as providing a superb environment without excessive cost. But this inviting slogan concealed a rigid, invisible barrier. The project was about cultivating a very specific kind of neighborhood, exclusively for a very specific kind of person. The Hollywoodland sign wasn't merely selling property, it was selling an ideology of exclusion. In the early 1920s, LA's civic leaders, including Harry Chandler, launched a citywide promotional campaign. At the time, national business maps used a color-coded system to indicate economic health. Cities with poor conditions were dark, while those with favorable business climates were marked with a literal white dot. Los Angeles, thriving and non-union, stood out as a premier white spot. But it is impossible to divorce that phrase from the intense racial anxieties of the era. The slogan carried an undeniable and intentional double meaning. In a city being aggressively marketed to white migrants from the Midwest and East Coast, the word white signified far more than a healthy economy. It promised racial homogeneity. This promise was brutally enforced through racially restrictive covenants, legal clauses embedded in property deeds that explicitly forbade the sale or rental of homes to anyone non-white. Los Angeles became a national leader in the use of these covenants, which were often advertised with chillingly coded language about maintaining fixed and natural restrictions. The very same developers behind Hollywoodland were central figures in promoting these citywide campaigns. In late 1924, they made their allegiance unmistakably public. They installed a giant 35-foot-wide white dot, made of painted sheet metal, on the hillside directly below their massive Hollywoodland sign. This was no subtle gesture or decorative flair. It was a brazen public monument to the white spot ideology. It served as a giant visual pledge to keep the white spot white, broadcasting to the entire city the development's core promise: a beautiful, tranquil, and thoroughly segregated paradise. So why has such a blatant symbol been almost completely erased from the official history of the Hollywood sign? Because forgetting the dot is far more convenient than confronting what it represented: a systematic, well-funded effort to engineer a racially segregated city, spearheaded by the very men who founded Hollywoodland. As the years went by, the temporary Hollywoodland sign, neglected and exposed to the elements, began to crumble. By 1949, it was a dilapidated wreck, with letters broken and missing. The city of Los Angeles intended to demolish it for good. In a move to save it, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce stepped in, offering to pay for the repairs, but with one critical condition: the last 4 letters, land, had to be removed. The official reason given was that this change would allow the sign to represent the entire Hollywood district, not just the original housing project. With that, Hollywoodland became Hollywood. In that moment, the sign was symbolically severed from its origins as a billboard for a racially restricted community. The timing of this decision is crucial. The transformation happened in 1949, just 1 year after the landmark 1948 Supreme Court case, Shelley v. Kramer, which declared racially restrictive covenants legally unenforceable. As the covenants were struck down and Hollywood, the industry, began carefully crafting a more progressive and inclusive public image, Hollywood, the sign, was quietly scrubbed of its deeply problematic past. What was born as a monument to a segregated tract began its slow transformation into a global symbol of dreams for all. Today, the Hollywood sign is a global emblem of creativity and opportunity, featured in countless films as a promise that anyone can achieve their dreams. Yet its history tells a more complicated story. Born as a segregated real estate ad, it has transformed into a symbol of inclusion, mirroring Los Angeles' own painful journey from exclusion to diversity. The White Spot campaign is now a historical footnote, but its legacy of segregation still shapes the city's map. This reminder is unsettling. Even our most cherished monuments can rise from troubling origins. The sign's past forces us to ask, can a symbol ever truly escape the ideology it was built to serve? Thanks for watching.